Hi, Philip.
Hi, Charaka.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good.
You're still in Montreal, right?
You're welcome to the Pioneers webinar from this series that we have been looking at for the past 5 Saturdays now. Last week we had Michael Adikan be talking to us about research writing referencing of plagiarism. Last 2 weeks we had Charaka talking about data analysis and interpretation. Last 3 weeks, we had Ayomide Adire talking about methodology. And then at the beginning of this webinar series, we had Abidi Miogotoji talking us through about literature review. And today, we have the incoming doctor, Charaka Jayathunga, who is currently a PhD student at the Department of Mechanical and Manufacturing Engineering at the University of Calgary, Canada. So he holds a master's degree from the same university and a bachelor's degree from the University of Huna, Sri Lanka. So he's a proud Sri Lankan. That's how you call it.
Always.
His research centers on thermodynamic modeling and heat transfer analysis of sustainable energy systems, with a particular focus on ground source heat pump technology and integrated geo-exchange solutions. He has published his research findings in several high-impact journals as well as in multiple conference proceedings in the areas of low-carbon heating and cooling, building energy performance, and renewable energy integration generation. He has also served as a peer reviewer for high-impact journals and major conferences. His insights are shaped by the hands-on experience navigating the manuscript preparation, submission, peer review, and revision processes. Myself and Charaka, as we work together, and we have done a couple of collaborative works together as well. So without any further ado, time is not really on our side. If you have any of your friends that are here to join that you think they registered and probably have forgotten, you may want to reach out to them. I will pass the baton to Charaka as he lead us through the discussion today on journal publication and research dissemination. Over to you.
All right. Thanks, Philip, for the introduction. So I'll start without waiting any longer. Okay. All right. So welcome everyone for the final presentation or final session on research writing webinar series. So today we will be looking at how to navigate the publication process, and I will share my insights with you. These are coming from like personal experiences and after talking with many other people who have gone through the process. So I hope today's session will be useful for you when you go ahead and start publishing your own work. So the outline for for the session today will be I will first talk about the objectives of this session and then why we need to publish. And then I will talk briefly about scientific publication routes and then the two common publication routes that are scientific conferences and journal publications. And then towards the end of the presentation, I will talk about how to handle reviewer comments and how to avoid common pitfalls and make your publication journey more smoother. Finally, we will have a Q&A session if the time allows. So if you have any questions, I would like to ask you to hold on to them until the end of the session so that we can go through the slides first and then move into the Q&A sessions. All right, so the objective of today's session will be understanding the difference between conferences and journals, and also the publication process in journals and scientific conferences, because the processes are a bit different when you go into conferences and journal publications. And then we will talk a little bit about the peer review process and common pitfalls that lead to rejections. So understanding these things will help you when you go on and start publishing your own work. So why do we need to publish? So the first thing, the obvious thing, is contributing to the knowledge, so that when you have some research findings, it is better to publish them so that the others also can benefit from the findings. So that is what we call contribution to knowledge. And these publications, when you publish, they go on permanent record and then people can access them anywhere in the world. The second one is the recognition in the academic community, which is very important for early career researchers. When you go into your research masters or your PhD work, at the end of these programs, you need, uh, if you are especially looking for a job in academia, if you want to go into academia, it is better. It is good to have the recognition within the academic community and know some people, and then uh, so that people know that you have done something out meaningful work during your programs. The third one is career growth and career aspirations, because getting the job is one thing, and then growing in that job is another thing. So that is where we need publishing, especially if you are looking towards a research career. So you need publications for your promotions and proceeding through your career as well. The next thing is networking opportunities. So we get so many opportunities when we go on to publish our work. Be it a conference or a journal, we get so many opportunities to network with other people in the industry, in the field, or even from a multidisciplinary sense as well. So we will find people from who are not exactly from what our field, but you will be able to network with them so that you have better opportunities or broad opportunities to network with them, and then get some benefits out of the networking. And also, finally, the future collaboration opportunities are also there. So when you meet with people and when you talk with people, you can start collaborating or initiate collaborations. That is how international research collaborations work. So let's say you are from Canada and you go to a conference in the US and meet someone from Germany, and then you start a research collaboration between Canada and Germany. So those are the future collaboration opportunities that you get when you go through this publication process. So next, we will talk about scientific publication routes. So we have so many routes that are in the scientific world when you want to publish your work. The first thing is the conferences, which is very common, and journal articles, also common. And then when we go deeper and deeper, we get to books. We get to publish books and book chapters. When you get more and more, when you get experienced, and when your knowledge expands, so you will end up writing books and book chapters. And then we have technical reports, usually written for a company or a government organization on a specific topic. So these are also considered publications. And then finally, theses and dissertations are also considered publications. So when you're at the end of your program, you will definitely submit a thesis or a dissertation depending on the format of the program. So this will also go on the permanent record and will contain your research findings, including the methodologies and all those things, and will be treated as a publication, uh, which will again contribute to the knowledge base. So, but in today's presentation, we will only focus on conferences and journal articles. which are the more common routes, and in my opinion, typically the low-hanging fruits and easier things to do. So first, let's go with scientific conferences. So the scientific conference is where people get together to discuss research and disseminate knowledge. So this can be in person or in online. Doesn't matter the format. The end goal is people getting together and discussing their research and results. So the conferences are generally fast-paced. So you will present your research and the knowledge dissemination is faster. So, and during the conferences, you will get opportunities to network with people because you meet them in person, you can talk to them and explain your work and get to know about their work. So, which means that you can also look for future collaboration opportunities as well. And then in the conferences, you will present initial results and look for feedback from the audience who are doing similar things. So it is good for early research work as well, because you're still trying to find your way in the research world. So presenting your initial results in conferences will help you guide your journey, and you will have opportunities to get feedback from the experts in the field, as when either when you are talking with them after the session or during the session, in a Q&A session as well. So the types of conferences, there are so many types of conferences. So I have different categories. So we can categorize them in different ways. So when we think about the scale, we have local, national, and international conferences. So a local conference is typically at the institutional level, where a university organizes a conference for the students within that university. And then the national level conferences are where people from all around the country get together and discuss their research. Whereas international conferences are done with the participation of an international audience, so people from different countries will come together, and share their insights and their results, their research with each other. So you will from international conferences, you will have more opportunities to see what's going on around the world, because what people in Canada are doing could be different from what people in Germany are doing. So it is better to know what's going on around the world so that you can incorporate those things, new technologies, new methodologies into your research as well. And then we have academic and industrial conferences. So conferences mainly focus on academic research, and industrial conferences focus on industry advancements, technologies, and promoting their products, so on and so forth. So we as researchers usually go with academic conferences, but time to time, the academic conferences also sometimes touch into industrial ones when the industrial responses also come into the academic conference and then try to talk about their advancements within an academic community, which is also good because you get to know what's going on in the industry, and so you can shape your research to cater the needs of the industry as well. So we also have single track and multi-track conferences. So a single track conference is specific to a single field of study, maybe thermodynamics. So everyone in that field will submit their work and then present their work. And then we will have multiple multi-track conferences, which can run for a couple of days, actually, where we have people from different fields or different disciplines presenting their work. For example, you can have people working on fluid mechanics, heat transfer, CFD. If I'm talking about engineering conferences, because that's my background. So you will have people from different disciplines or different fields presenting their work at the conference. So the conference will be organized track-wise, and there will be multiple tracks running in parallel. So And again, we have types of conference presentations as well. So in a conference, we have different presentation formats. The two common presentation formats are oral presentations and poster presentations. So an oral presentation typically requires a full-length paper, and then you will uh, present at an audience in person during a scheduled time. Usually oral presentations are time limited, so you will get 15, 20 minutes, a 20-minute slot in a session, where there will be other presentations also from the similar fields. Uh, so oral presentations, when you go for an oral presentation, since you have already submitted a full-length paper, these papers are typically included in conference proceedings so that you can show it. So people can access them online or in a printed form. Uh, on the other hand, poster presentations, they do not require a full-length paper, rather they require a research poster. So, and poster presentations usually do not have a defined audience. So you will have your poster pasted on a wall or somewhere in the conference lobby, or in a dedicated area where people will walk around and come to you and talk to you about your research. So the audience is not defined. You won't have a fixed audience. You will have people from multiple disciplines coming towards your presentation, towards your poster, and asking you questions and discussing your research. The good thing about poster presentations is that they don't have a time frame to present your work, but it is in a condensed form. So uh, you will have to talk about your research using a limited space or limited amount of visual aids. But it is good because you don't have a time frame. You don't have to finish your presentation within a specific time. You will have like a full day to do your presentations. But the downside is that it will be only for specific people who walk towards you for your towards your poster, so that you can explain to them. Um, okay, so uh, this slide shows the process of a conference publication. A conference publication process starts with a call for papers by a specific conference. So you will look for call for paper notifications. Usually these are shared by your faculties or your administrations, or you will see this call for papers online or some sort of marketing, some in a marketing sense. So the conferences will try to publicize the call for papers, and you will get to know if the conferences are asking for papers. So once you decide to go for the conference, to decide to submit a paper to a conference, you will first submit an abstract. So abstract is a shorter version of about like 300 words. It can be different, see 300 to 600 words. So you will submit an abstract. This abstract is a brief overview of your research, which may or may not include the final results. So you will submit the abstract. You will have a deadline for an abstract submission, which typically comes 6, 7 months before the actual conference takes place. So you submit the abstract, and then reviewers will go through the abstract and decide whether they should accept it. So when you get the acceptance for the abstract, you are required to submit a full paper submission. You are required to submit a full paper. So which can be about 10 pages, 6 to 10 pages. Depending on the conference, they will have specific requirements, but typically 6 to 10 pages is called a full paper. So where you will have your methodology, introduction, methodology, results, discussions, and conclusions. So, and then once you submit the full paper, the paper will go to peer review, where peers review your paper and make decisions based on what you have submitted. So if the reviewers think that your paper is acceptable but needs revisions, they will ask for revisions. That is when your presentation goes for paper revision stage. This is where you will do revisions depending on what the reviewers have asked. And then once you are done with the revisions, you will submit it again for the second round of peer review. And then the reviewers will evaluate the paper again and see if you have properly addressed their comments. And if they deem it acceptable, they will accept the paper, or otherwise they could ask for more revisions, or in the worst case they could end up rejecting the paper as well if you haven't uh, addressed the comments or addressed the concerns of the reviewers. So when the paper gets accepted, you have to submit the final version. So the final version means after doing all the final corrections. So some conferences call this camera ready version as well. So this happens about about 2 months before the actual conference date. So your paper gets accepted and you do the final version and you submit the final version. So now all the submissions are done. What's left is going to the conference and presenting your work. So uh, you will need your presentation ready, um, and then you will go on to the conference and start your oral presentation. So once you're done with the oral presentations, once the conference day passes, that's when your papers gets published. Some conferences do not publish papers if you do not attend the conference and do the presentation. So it is important to read through the policies of the conference, so that even if your paper gets accepted and you submit the final version, if you don't go to the conference and do the presentation, the conference might choose not to publish your work. So it is important to read through the policies and understand them and follow their guidelines. So once your paper is published, so it can be in either printed form or online or both. Usually nowadays, most conferences have online proceedings where people can access online, where people anywhere in the world can access them. So ideally, the conference proceedings should be indexed. So that means it should be searchable and findable through Google Scholar or any other science database. It might take some time, but ideally it should be indexed, and your paper should be assigned a DOI, or a document identification number, so that you can share it with your peers, or maybe include it in your applications, in your CV, so that people can go on and read the paper and click on the link and see the paper online. There are some conferences that do not index the proceedings. So it is up to you to decide whether you should go for one of those conferences or not. You can typically ask, or conferences usually mention if they index the proceedings or not, or if not, if they haven't done that, you can always reach out to the organizers and ask if the conference proceedings are indexed. So I would recommend that you go for an indexed conference, because you will put in a lot of work, but at the end of the day, if it is not indexed, it is not findable and it is not citable, which is not a very good case. All right. So the next is journal publications. So journal publications are typically tougher than publishing in conferences, because the purpose of a journal is to reach a wider audience or a wider readership, so that the peer review process is so extensive, and also it requires a high rigor. So and also it needs a quality research, a novel research, and you have to report it in detail. So a typical conference paper can be about 10 pages, and a detailed journal paper can be 20, maybe 30, 40 pages as well, when you write it. So that's how detailed a journal paper needs to be. But again, every journal has its own set of guidelines which you have to follow. Some journals will have a word limitation, some will have a page limitation. So either way, you have to report your findings and your research in detail, and emphasize the novelty of your work. The good thing about journals is that they have a greater citation potential because there could be many people read the papers. Because journals, usually when we do a literature search, journals usually come first. You will see many journal articles, and then sometimes here and there some conference articles as well. Uh, and journals compared to conferences have a higher academic weight. So people will highly regard a journal publication when you compare it with a conference publication. So it is always good if you have a good research, a novel research, it is always good to go for a journal publication uh, so that you have a higher weight, your work has a higher weight. So we have different types of journal articles or journals. The first type, the first category is based on how the subscription is managed. So we have subscription-based journals where the readers pay a subscription fee, just like we use Netflix or any other subscription-based service. The readers pay the subscription fee. So as authors, you won't have to pay any fee because the journal makes revenue by readership or the subscription is paid by the readers. So publishing in these journals is usually free. So as authors, that is good. Uh, and again, we have open access journals where readers get free access. So that means the potential for readership is high. So many readers will get access to the paper, but on the downside, as authors, you will have to pay an article publishing charge, which can be huge sometimes. It can be $2,000, $4,000 just to publish one article. So that is the types of journals based on subscription. And then we have impact factor tiers. We have Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4 journals. Depending on the impact factor, the journals are categorized based on categorized into these categories. So Q1 journals are the high impact factor journals, and Q4 have usually the lowest impact factors. So you can decide to go for, depending on the potential of your research, you can decide to go for either of these categories. But it is preferred to publish in Q1 journals. But again, the peer review process is going to be rigorous, and it's going to be a little bit tough to publish in Q1 journals. So you need to emphasize your novelty and convince the reviewers that you have done some commendable or excellent work. And then again, we have original research articles. So these are the types of articles, original research articles and review articles. Original research articles the, are, are original research that you have done. So in that sense, you would have set up your experiment, you have done your work, you have done the literature survey, you have set up your work, you have set up your methodology, you have followed the methodology and got some results and presented those results. Those are called original articles. And then we have review articles. So review articles are articles where the authors usually don't do any original work, rather they review what the others have done and then come up with more like a summary. And well, even though we call it a summary, it's going to be a long paper, but people usually review papers usually review about 100 to 100 papers that are done by other people, and then provide insights into what's going on in the research field, what has been done and what has not been done. So those are called review articles. So writing a review article is going to be tough because it needs you to read a lot of papers, 150 to 100 papers. But doing an original research article, writing wise, it is easier, but it's going to take a lot of time because you will have to come up with your own results. Uh, the next is the journal submission process or the journal publication process. So the process starts with choosing a proper journal. to submit your work to. And so choosing the journal is very important, so that, for example, someone from engineering shouldn't submit his work to a journal in social sciences. So, and also even within engineering, different journals will have different scopes. So you will have to find a journal that matches your work, where the scope matches with the journal, where your work matches with the scope of the journal. So that is very important to choose a proper journal. So once you have chosen a proper journal, then you prepare the manuscript. But these things go hand in hand. Usually you have a manuscript, some kind of a manuscript, and then you choose a journal. And then, but again, depending on the journal, different journals will have their own criteria or their own formatting guidelines. So you will have to reformat your manuscript to fit the requirements of the journal. And then you submit it to the journal. Your manuscript gets submitted, which doesn't cost anything at this stage. So you submit it to the journal, and then the editorial office will receive your submission. And then it will go through an initial review by the editor. So this is not an in-depth review. So the editor will determine if your paper should, the purpose of the initial review is to determine whether your paper should go to the peer review process. So initial review includes plagiarism checks and determining whether your work fits the scope of the journal. So, well, if the editor decides that your work needs to go through the peer review process, it will pass the initial editorial review and then go into the peer review process. So next, the peer review starts. And so you will get a notification that, well, not a notification, you can track the progress of the paper. So once it gets accepted, once it passes through the initial review by the editor, you will be able to track whether it has gone to a peer review or whether it has been rejected. So once it goes to peer review, the editor assigns reviewers. So these reviewers are typically people who have experience in the field, in a similar field. For example, if you are working on thermodynamics, the reviewers will be people who have worked on thermodynamics or heat transfer or related fields, or who have done some similar work. So the reviewers get assigned, and then they start the reviewing process. So once the reviewers have completed their review, the peer review process completes for the first round. So these review usually a paper requires two reviewers to review the paper and accept it. But sometimes, because the way the peer review process works is, from my experience, is that the editors usually send out invitations to many reviewers at once, and then wait until two people accept. But sometimes there are more people could have accepted the review invitation, so then you will have more than two reviewers. So I for one instance got 5 reviewers on one of my papers. So it can happen. So the minimum requirement is 2. So there's no any maximum requirement. So I know someone who got 10 reviewers. So he had to address review comments from 10 people. So once the reviewers have determined, or once the reviewers have gone through your paper and decided the shortcomings and the suggestions for acceptance, they will let the editor know, and editor will go through the review comments and make a decision whether to accept it or reject it. So the reviewer decision, the editor's decision on whether accepting or not depends on what reviewers have said about your paper. So if the reviewers have given favorable comments, the editor will decide to accept the paper, but before doing that, you will have to do some revisions. So the editor will ask you to do revisions on the paper based on the reviewer comments. So that is when it goes into the revision process. So at this stage, the paper gets back to you, and you will get a detailed you will get detailed comments from all the reviewers, and you are required to address all of them. Either accept their comments, and you can either accept their comments and change your paper, or otherwise you can decide not to follow what they have done, but still you need to provide a justification or a rebuttal for not doing that and why it is not needed to be done. So, and then you will go through all those comments and you will revise your paper accordingly, and you can submit your revisions to the paper, to the journal again. So you submit your revised paper, and then again, this revised paper will go to go through a peer review process again. Uh, Generally, the second round of so the this round of peer review after revisions go back to the initial reviewers who reviewed your paper, and then they will check whether you have addressed their comments. So this can go back and forth a couple times as well. So it can go 2-3 rounds of revisions, but at the end, uh, you need favorable comments from all the reviewers. So once all the reviewers give some comments on the paper, your peer review process is completed, and then editor will make a decision based on what the reviewers have said. So the best case is the paper getting accepted. The worst case is it getting rejected. But if it gets accepted, you will get a notification saying that your paper has been accepted, and then within a couple of weeks, the journal will ask you, the editorial office rather, will ask you to do final proofing of the reading. So usually they do site type settings if it is if they are Elsevier journals usually. They do type settings, and then they will send you the formatted paper and ask to do a final proofreading, where you will have the opportunity to make smaller changes. For example, spelling mistakes uh, and things like that. Small mistakes that do not affect the decision of the reviewers. For example, you can't add a new section with a completely different set of results at this stage. So if that happens, they will decide to go through the peer review process again. So the only thing that you can do here is minor corrections, a correction to an equation, a sign of an equation, or spelling mistakes, minor grammar mistakes. So those are the things that you can change at this stage. And then once this is done, your paper gets published, and you will get another notification saying that your paper is now published and online. So that is the process of a journal publication. So when you compare the two, you will see that a journal publication process is a lengthy process. It can take a lot of time, sometimes a couple of months, and sometimes a couple of years. So rather than a conference. So a conference has set deadlines or set timelines, because no matter what, the conference will happen on that day. But there's no such defined timelines for journals. But usually journals try to make stick to a certain timeline, but it is never guaranteed. All right. Okay, so this is a summary between the conferences and journals. Conferences are usually good for early stages of research, where you present initial results or preliminary results and get feedback. Whereas journals are for complete research, where you need to establish your novelty and prove that you have done a significant work. So the reporting or writing is concise in a conference because of the page limitations. But in journals, the reporting needs to be detailed. So you have to explain each and everything and discuss each and every result in detail. The peer review process is not as rigorous as journals in conferences, but in journals, the peer review process can be extensive. As I mentioned, it can be a very extensive process, a very lengthy process, a lot of back and forth. And also you might get comments from many people at the same time. So you will have to address maybe easily, if there are about three review, if you get three reviewers, you will easily be addressing about 30 comments, 30 different comments from three different people. Uh, Conferences usually have a higher chance of acceptance unless it is very, very bad. But journals are not like that. Journals usually have a higher chance of rejection. Conferences usually requires you to pay for a registration fee, unless it is not a free conference. But usually, most of the conferences that are regarded as a prestigious ones require you to pay a registration fee and then to attend and publish. But journals usually do not require a payment unless it is open access. Uh, Open access journals usually ask you to pay an article publishing fee. We call it APC, Publication Charge, which can be expensive. But the subscription-based journals do not require payment. So for you as an author, it doesn't cost anything to publish your papers. Uh, Conferences usually have a shorter publication timeline. From the call of papers to the final date, the timelines are defined. Your paper, if your paper gets accepted, it's going to get published within that timeline. But for journals, it's not like that. There's no any set deadlines or set timelines. You can submit a paper at any time, and you might wait a couple of months to a couple of years, depending on the length of the peer review process and how many times it goes back and forth. Uh, those are the key differences between conferences and journals. And then I will talk a little bit about how to handle reviewer comments. So when you get reviewer comments, it can be overwhelming. The first step is not panicking. So don't panic. Just glance through what they have written. Most of the time they are constructive and they intend to make your paper a better one. So you don't have to panic really. So to address the reviewer comments, it is important that you address their comments to the point and give a detailed response. So sometimes your reviewer might have said something in just a couple of words or in a couple of lines. It doesn't matter. You have to give a detailed response and address their comments to the point. So when you go through the revision process, so this is where the revisions come. So this is during the revision process. So while you address the review comments, your paper will need to be changed. For example, if someone asks you to add a separate section, your original paper gets changed. So it is important that you mark all the changes in the revised paper. So in a different color or in a highlighted way, so that you can link it so that you can make a reference or make a connection and tell the reviewer that okay, we have done this and we have marked it in this color. And for journals, you will have to prepare a rebuttal document and provide the responses in the document within the document itself. So in the figure, I have shown a sample of the rebuttal document. So these are some comments that I received from a reviewer. Comment number 7, 8, and 9, you will see here. And then you have to provide a detailed response, just like this. So this is we call the rebuttal document. So this is a separate Word document where you have all the comments that you received from the reviewers and your responses. So your responses should not limit to the rebuttal document itself. It should be reflected in your paper as well as a change or a revision. And then you have to provide responses to each comment individually. So if there are 10 comments, you have to provide 10 responses. You can't just give a general response for all the 10 comments. So it is better to individualize the comments and give an individual response. so that the reviewers can easily know what you have done and if you have addressed all their comments. So otherwise, it is going to be a lot of back and forth, which costs you time, and it's not very good. Okay, so that is how you would handle reviewer comments, and then I will talk about common pitfalls. So these are common mistakes that lead to rejections. The first thing is the journal scope mismatch. So if your work does not fit the scope of the journal, it's going to get rejected. So the editor is going to reject it within a couple of days of submission. And also, if your English or if your writing is also poor, it is also going to get rejected. But you might get a chance to correct these things. But if it is so bad, they will just simply reject it and then ask you to submit it elsewhere. And then plagiarism. So if you have a lot of plagiarism, if your plagiarism index is very high, it's going to get rejected. No questions asked, no time for clarifications, no opportunities for clarifications. And also, if you're not adhering to journal guidelines, it's also going to get rejected. For example, if a journal has a certain word limit, say 7,000, and you submit something with 10,000 words, it's going to get rejected. But if it is 7,500, editor might give you a chance to change the length, or adjust the length so that it fits within the guidelines. But if it is so far away, it's going to get rejected. So the first four are going to, first four will happen within editors, could happen within editors' initial editorial review. So we call these desk rejections. So that means your journal doesn't go into the peer review process. And then another pitfall is usually failure to emphasize the novelty of your work. So if you haven't clearly stated the novelty of your work, or if the novelty has not been established well, so reviewers might uh, ask for revisions, or in the worst case, they might just simply reject the paper, saying that it is not novel and the work is not novel. So it is important that you emphasize the novelty and clearly and establish it well using a comprehensive literature review. And also, depending on the prestige of the journals, if your work doesn't have enough depth, they will also then it also will subject to then it also might face a rejection. So if the research depth is not sufficient, it will lead to a rejection. Or even if it is not sufficient, the stuff that you have done is not deep enough. Even if you get a chance to make some revisions, you might not have enough time to redo your work and redo your simulations, redo your experiments. So it might actually lead to some rejections. If your methodology is questionable, so if you haven't followed a proper methodology, if your methodology is everywhere, like if it has gone haywire or haphazard, it's going to get rejected because the reviewers are usually experts in the field, so they will probably know how to do something like what you are doing, what you have done. So it is better to have a clear methodology and a proper methodology. Uh, and again, if you have questionable results, so this is a no-brainer, it's going to get rejected. So uh, if your results are not acceptable, if they cannot be accepted, for example, if you end up violating the energy conservation law, it's going to get rejected because the results are questionable, or some other questionable results. If you end up reporting questionable results, the reviewers might not even give you a chance to address or chance to explain. They will just simply reject. And then if your results are not supported with the data, for example, you have reported some results, but they are not supported with data. So then reviewers might ask for revisions, or they might simply reject it. So either way, if it is important that you avoid mistakes as much as possible, so that the review process is shorter, because some review process, as I mentioned, it can go up to a couple of years even. If you're lucky, it might be a couple of months, but some cases it can, in many cases actually, it can extend beyond a year, which means you get delayed, your graduation gets delayed, and also it's just going to be, you will be waiting for a decision and it's going to be a long time, and then you will lose even interest. And sometimes what happens is you don't even remember what you have done. So once you get the reviewer comments, so the review process can be that long. So it is better to avoid these things so that you do not elongate the process unnecessarily. So these are some common pitfalls. So there are other issues as well, which I haven't included here. So these are things that we usually tend to do. So it is always important to try to avoid the first four. Try to find a better, Try to find a journal with a matching scope. Make your English better, make your writing better, and avoid plagiarism and adhere to journal guidelines. So you will have a decent chance of going to peer review process, where in many cases you get a second chance. Remember that if your paper gets rejected by a journal, you cannot submit it to the same journal again. So you have to find another one and then submit it to another one. So uh, that is that. And if you have any questions, I think I will take a couple of questions. I don't know, Philip, if we are over time. I think we are 1 minute over the schedule. I don't know
Uh,
if you have time for Q&A.
yeah, that's the question is going back to you if you have some times to
Yeah,
spare.
I'm
Still, I
fine.
think.
Yeah, I'm fine. My schedule is flexible for today. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for the presentation. And if you have any question, could you please signify time for question and answer? The silence means there's no question.
All right. I have a question.
All
Good
right.
evening, everyone.
Good evening. Please go ahead.
All right. My question is under the type of journals,
Mhm.
the open access and the subscription based journals, which one is more preferable for someone that
Uh,
is just
Yeah, it
starting?
depends. For example, if you're okay with paying $2,000 for a publication, you can go with an open access, because open access journals usually have a lot of readership. So you will actually have a higher chance of citations. But it's going to cost you a lot. $4,000 or $2,000 is a lot. But subscription journals, on the other hand, again, there are some predatory journals when it comes to open access. So where they just make money off the authors and the research quality is not that good. So the review process is not that rigorous. So if you end up submitting to one of those journals, and if the journal has a bad reputation, so it's bad on you. So it is always better in terms of prestige and the quality assurance, I would say going for a subscription based journal is better, because they make money off readers, so they need to make sure that the quality is high. So if you publish your work in one of those journals, your reputation is also uh, the reputation of for your work is also going to get high. Uh, but there are some good open access journals as well. But again, the downside is having to pay a lot of money. I'm not sure if I
Yeah.
answered your question.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much.
If I may
Uh,
also add to that, before we move to the
yes.
next question, would be that it also depends on your university at times. I think currently there are some universities that has like they have like an agreement with some of these publishers, but the agreement is kind of tricky as well. They have an agreement for you to publish open access for free. Not like somebody's covering it actually, but I mean, you know that it's not coming from your pocket and it's not probably not coming from your PI pocket. But I think the journal has to be like an hybrid journal. You have to look at the journal. Depending on the agreement, you need to look at the terms and conditions of the agreement. I know there are some that they only sponsor an hybrid journal. What is an hybrid journal? An hybrid journal is a kind of a journal that have both open access and they have subscription-based access as well. So if there are some agreements with publishers like that, and depending on your university, depending on the country where you're joining from, so you can have that leverage. And talking about predatory journal, you can easily know what a predatory journal is. There are some open access journal that are very good as well. But because of this predatory journal that are already around, they have spoiled the work of non-predatory journal. So you have to be careful. It will be a waste of money. And I think most predatory journal, they don't really ask for an exorbitant amount of money for you to publish. Most productive journal, they might be asking you for like $40, 40 euro, €100 for you to publish your work. You have to check that. If it's a very solid journal paper, the minimum they will ask for me will likely be around 1,500 euro or 1,500 USD. So then you can know that you are in for business. So that's another way to kind of eliminate production, non-productive journal. So I think we have two more questions in the chat.
Yes. So one question is why Q1 journals are hard to publish. Yeah, so it is again comes from the impact factor and what the reviewers and editors expect from the work. So that means you have to present or you have to produce a really original work that has a lot of impact. And also you have to convince both the reviewers and the editors to say that your work is meaningful and it deserves to be published in one of these high impact journals. So the review process for these Q1 journals are typically high. The are very rigorous, so they will ask for a lot of clarifications. So they will actually drill deep, and you will have to provide very good answers, very good reasons, and very good results, and a better methodology. So that is why it is hard to publish in Q1 journals. So the rejection rates in Q1 journals are also very high. Because Q1 journals are again like the pinnacle of publication. So everyone wants to publish in those things. So the rejection rates have to be high. But again, the reviewers are also seasoned professors, seasoned scholars who have done a lot of research. So they will know and they have a lot of experience in finding out if something is worth looking at or if something is worth publishing. So yeah, that is why typically it is hard to publish in Q1 journals. If you have any follow-up questions on that, you can ask. Right.
Okay, follow-up questions on that.
Yep.
So, as a graduate student that is just entering into the academia, which journal is it advisable to start with? Which kind of journal?
Yeah, I would advise you go with the Q1 journal. So even if they do not accept it in the first run, you will still get some comments, which you can address and make your paper better and then submit to another one in the worst case. But it's still, again, publishing in Q1 journals is preferred, especially if you are starting your research as a new graduate student, because it carries a lot of weight, and also it has a better recognition among the academic community as well. So, and again, also your professor might also ask you to publish in high impact journals. They won't be interested in publishing in low impact factor journals. Uh, so it is also, I would recommend you that you go for a Q1 journal or a journal with a high impact factor. Because it's a good start. Then you will get a very good start and a very good head start actually. If you want to, even if you, let's say you want to submit an application for an award or a scholarship, then you can say, hey, I have published my work in a top quality journal with a high impact factor, so that people will know that you are actually someone who really cares about research and you are actually a doer rather than just someone who talks about it. So yeah, I would advise you to go for a Q1 journal.
All right. The Q1 journal, is it paid? Is it subscription based? Is it usually subscription based or open access?
They can be open access too. Again, just like Philip mentioned, they can have hybrid formats as well. So they will have a open access format as well as a subscription format. But Q1 journals, it's hard to say whether it's going to be whether all Q1 journals are subscription based or not. But a good way to look at it is looking at the impact factor score. So journals usually have the impact factor scores reported in their respective websites. So it is better to look at that, look at the impact factor score and the site score to determine whether it is a good one.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. And then there's another question about asking about the restrictions. So the question is, are there any restrictions to the number of journals in which a particular article can be featured in? So if you are submitting just a single piece of article, so you must submit it in, or you have to submit it in one journal only at the same time. For example, let's say you have an article that you have written and you submit to a journal and you are waiting for a review response and you are impatient and you submit it another one. So it is not ethical. So you have to wait until the first journal gives you a response. So if they accept, then it's fine. So if they reject it, then you can go ahead and submit it another one. Again, it cannot be featured in the same article cannot be featured in two journals. So it is unethical, and it will lead to serious consequences when in an academic review or something like that. So uh, I would strongly advise against it.
Yeah, that's a strong issue of plagiarism. They can call it self-plagiarism.
Yeah. So
There are
even if you
some,
succeed in publishing in two journals, the same article in two journals, it will come back to bite you at some point in your career. And then if that happens, people will start questioning everything that you have done, which
yeah,
is bad.
there are some journals that kind of retract. I think it's common recently now. They retract some journals because,
Yes.
and one of the reasons why they retract journals recently is when they see that the similarity between different works are kind of close. Then you
Yeah.
need to answer some question why, right? And yeah, like you said, it's not ethical. And even when you are submitting your work to a journal, they will ask you, have you submitted this work
Yeah.
to any other journal before? I mean, currently, is this work currently under consideration in another journal? That's a standard journal. We ask you that question because nobody wants to do, they don't want to send the work through review process, and at the end of the day, you're telling them that you are no longer interested in publishing with them, or they find out that you have published it somewhere.
Yeah.
Yes, so
Yeah.
yeah.
So it is not good to have the same journal being considered, like let alone published. So even in the review process, you never should have the same article under process in two journals.
Mm,
So you have to wait until one journal gives you a decision and then submit it to another one. So this is why you need to make sure that you minimize those pitfalls, because if you submit it to another one, you can't submit it to your article to the next journal until the first journal gives you a decision. But if the first journal takes a year and then rejects you, and you have to wait another long review process at the second journal, and then wait until they give you a decision as well. And then if they also reject it, you have to do it. You have to submit it in a third journal. So it takes a very long time for the process to complete. So if you can avoid those common pitfalls, it will ease a little bit, so that you don't have to keep doing this. You don't have to keep submitting the same article to different journals one after the other, which saves a lot of time.
All right. One final
Right.
question.
Yes.
Anyone taking that slot? One final question.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much for the wonderful presentation. Okay, please, I want to ask a question based on the pitfall for rejecting of journals. So there's a point you say insufficient research depth. So I'm curious to know, is there a yardstick they are using to determine if a research is insufficient for depth? So what are the yardstick the peer review are using to determine that?
The peer reviewers actually, I don't think they have a rubric or a marking scheme that assesses the depth of the work, but it will mainly come from their experience in the field. For example, if a seasoned scholar has seen the same work in a more depth, so they will tend to reject your work, saying that your work is not uh, deep enough. And also, if you don't have enough novelty, and if they feel like you don't have enough novelty, so that is when they will move to reject the paper as well. So it is again depends on the reviewers, what they have seen in the field, what they have done. Most of the reviewers might even have done something similar. So if they have done something deeper or something more impactful, they might think that, so there's no so the paper that you submit is not deep enough. So that depends completely on the reviewers. So if they are seasoned, it's going to be tough to convince them that your work is deep. But if they are new, it might be easier. But you will never know. You don't have the control over choosing your reviewers. And also, again, Q1 journals usually have seasoned scholars. So it's going to, even if you like convince one reviewer, there are going to be another one who you have to convince. So if you get one reviewer who is not seasoned and the other one seasoned, the seasoned one will start asking questions and pointing out mistakes or pointing out shortcomings of the paper.
Yeah. In addition, the review process is subjective. So, like you said, depending on the reviewer that is looking at your work and the depth that they have in that work. So, and a good example I could cite is when you are doing your discussion, if you are just talking about a trend, let's say you have a model y is equals to mx plus c, and you just state it clearly that as y is increasing, m is also increasing, and you just put this full stop and you continue talking about other things. That's not depth. When you observe something from your trend, you need to go in depth and talk about why are you seeing that trend, right? That could be some areas where a reviewer could see that, yeah, even though you talk about the result, but there's no depth into it. You're not talking about the physics behind this work. You're not talking about what are the causal effects of what you are seeing. You're just analyzing what the result looks like. You're not discussing the physics behind what you are seeing. So that could be one area that could cause rejection of the work as well.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for the question, for the answer.
You're welcome. All right. Thank you so much, Charaka. Appreciate your time, this time spent in putting this together, and so informative. And thank you for doing this with us. Thank you, everyone that has been joining us for the past 5 Saturdays now. And I do hope that you have learned one or two things. And if you have any question after now, you can reach out to us via our email. Well, probably
Oh
I
yeah,
could get
so
the reviewer to, I mean, our guest speaker
yeah,
to.
so these are my contact details if in any case you need to reach out and ask some questions.
Oh, nice. So
Yeah, so
you could connect with him, and the mail is already there. Or which mail are you asking for? All right. And like I mentioned in the last webinar, I'll be sending out the resources used by our guest speaker. If you are comfortable, Charaka, you could share the resources with
yeah,
me.
sure. I'll share
And
it
then,
right after the session. Yeah.
all right. And you could you will share that with me, and then I will send the recording for all the previous session as well before the end of today, hopefully, and also the link to where you can download the resources if you think you need it. Yeah, I think I already shared how you can best reach the initiative, which is the Rising Stars. Be sure that if you reach out to this email, you will get a response from either from me or any member of our team. Rising Stars Initiative. So, thank you everyone, and enjoy the rest of your evening. And you can follow us on our LinkedIn as well to keep an eye on other events that will be happening in the future. Everything will be included in the email that I'll be sending out later today. All right. Take care and enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank
Okay,
you.
Right.
all right.
Thank you.
Okay.